here's a recent fan find that I got. So this thing is I think it's a late 70s, early 80s cool Horng super deluxe oscillating desk fan in blue. So I just recently found this, I would say a few yards away from where I found the cool breeze fan, and it has a half Panasonic, half Lasko base onto it, as you can see. It uses a different blade set, and that's because like later on, probably the mid 80s, the cool Horn company copied the Panasonic KDK blade set and just slapped that onto their fans. But this one is actually decently made. So this thing is in rough shape. I noticed that some parts are starting to deteriorate, but at least it's not really severe. So the base and the motor cover are deteriorating. And the only thing that survived, that did not experience any of the deterioration, was the original blade nut, the blade, and this guard nut, as well as the keyboard. And I think they use like different types of plastics on these fans, because they don't experience much deterioration like the base did and the motor cover. So I'm actually quite impressed. But let's take a look at the bottom real quick. And if you think that there's something missing, you're right. You are correct. And what is missing from this fan is the tray. And that tray unfortunately has crumbled away. It was so brittle that if you were to rip this thing off, it would just like the entire thing would just come off. And that's what happens to this fan. So I had no choice but to rip the entire whatever was left of the base plate off. So it's just going to remain that way for the rest of time. Now here's the motor, and has two oil parts on each side. So one right here and one right there. The capacitor, it also seems to have yellowed out. Has a metal oscillation rod. The tilting mechanism is adjustable. But this thing has a design flaw, and it's this. So this hoop is made out of metal, and it's not secure. I feel some burrs at the bottom, and probably some at the top. And what's really scary is this. So if you see that, it moves, and that is very dangerous. It could cause a fire. And this is pretty much what gave SMC a very bad reputation. But it's there. I don't know if they even used the oscillation on this thing, which I hope they did not, because if they did, I would have heard a fire a long time ago, and I do not wish that on anybody. But the interesting thing about the blade, so it uses this metal piece that sits on the pin of the shaft, and I never seen that on any other fans. So this one, I think you drill a hole that's large enough to fit in this metal piece, and that's just pretty much it. But either ways, I'm going to switch it on, but this motor does not run properly, and you're going to see how in a moment. So that is low speed, and I would not even call this a low speed because of how slow it's running. It's giving a breeze, that is for sure, but it's just not the way it's supposed to be running. But I mean, it is very quiet. Well, here's speed 2. It's barely a difference. This is like not even a low speed on the average fan. So one thing I'll tell you right now, I did some research on eBay last night about this fan model specific, and let me say they're not that valuable. The highest price for these new in box, it's probably $45. That's just it. One of those fans, they'll be slapping $100 price tags onto that, and they will do the same thing to that fan as well. But these ones, they're not valuable for some reason, but I could also see why. These fans, these fans were like, I would say, like the comfort zones of today. They were not really well made like they were beforehand, because like back then most fans were made out of metal completely. They did not use plastic parts like this one does. But yeah, so here's the high speed, and you're just gonna hear how this motor is not normal. So here we go. So yeah, that is the high speed, and just listen to it run. It's running normally, but the medium and low, they're running super slow. So that is cause for alarm. And I think the capacitor might be failing on this thing, or this thing is just completely dying out. The motor is running hot already, so well, we can get the oscillation. The oscillation is actually really good. Other fans I have experienced issues with the oscillation. Other fans, they would stay in one place and they would do this terrible loud rattling sound. And others, you just like disengage the oscillation, but at some point it would just go back down. But I mean, this one has no issues at all. And that is insane from cool Horng fans, because I think some fans had oscillation issues. But I think that was like towards the end of their production. Well, here's speed 2. But yeah, that is a large gap between the two speeds. That is definitely not normal. And back to low. But yeah, this is barely even running. I'll disengage the oscillation and I'll turn it off. And as you can see, it has a decent spin down. But it's very unfortunate that this fan is not running properly, so I have no choice, but I'm going to scrap it. So that's that. That's the cool Horng 12-inch oscillating desk fan from the late 70s to early 80s, model KH-202. Thank you for watching.